I like how we vibe. 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 I like how we vibe.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Compliance Clinic with your favorite practitioner, So, today we're going to be talking about zero-based budgeting on our Friday Fact session. The reason why I'm actually talking about zero-based budgeting is most businesses are within their new year, new me cycle, and I think it would be good to look at some good budgeting techniques, and zero-based budgeting is one of those good techniques that most business should look into when they're looking to actually put together a well-organized budgeting system in place, and once you have that, you can move away from zero-based budgeting, but it's a good starting point. Anyway, here's our table of content. This is what's on our agenda for today. Background about zero-based budgeting, steps that are required for zero-based budgeting, the benefits of zero-based budgeting, the drawbacks of zero-based budgeting, and then at the end, I'm going to tie it all back together and give you a nice conclusion. Zero-based budgeting is a budgeting method in which all the expenses must be justified for each new period. This means that all expenses must be reevaluated each period, and that all expenses, including those carried over from previous period, must be approved again. The purpose of this approach is to ensure that every rand spent serves as a specific purpose and adds value to the organization. So there's no wasteful expenditure here with zero-based budgeting. Every rand is accounted for. Here are some steps that are required. The first step is to identify your goals and priorities. The first step is literally in implementing zero-based budgeting is to identify your goals as the organization and priorities for the upcoming period. So February just finished. What are your priorities for March and April? Or you're in March, you're drafting a budget for April. You've just finished February. You're going to look at those figures. You're trying to do something for April. So that's how it would work. This might involve setting specific performance targets, such as increasing revenue or improving customer services. Simple. Step 2, determine resources needed. Once the goal and priorities have been identified, the organization can determine the resources, for example, the material, the staff, whatever, those things that you would consider resources in your organization. Some organizations, vehicles might be resources. That's for them. The number of vehicles they have on the road means more money for them. Or, expenses, the vehicle is an expense in itself. So you need to determine that resource needed to achieve your goal. This might involve conducting a thorough analysis of the organization's operations and identifying any bottlenecks or inefficiencies. So you start doing a moment of truth for the business, looking for bottlenecks as well as inefficiencies. Where can we improve? Then you allocate resources based on the resources needed to achieve the organization's goal. So you know what your goal is, you know what resources are available to you or that are needed, and in order for you to achieve that goal. So the organization can then allocate these resources accordingly, based on your needs and your goal. This might involve creating a detailed budget plan that outlines the specific resources needed for each goal or priority. Eliminate unnecessary expenses. As part of the zero-based budgeting process, the organization should also review its expenses to identify any that are not directly tied to its goals and priorities. these expenses should be eliminated or significantly reduced in order to optimize the organization's spending. So, for example, let's say you are in the business of, we'll go back to consulting. You're in the business of consulting, but you're finding that you're incurring office expenses, but you work at the client's offices most of the time. And when you're not at the client's offices, you work from home. Your lease is technically an expense that you can eliminate or reduce rather than having an office, a big office. You can literally have a virtual office with boardroom facilities, reduce the expenses. That's what it would mean. In this case, you eliminate unnecessary expenses. And then you monitor and adjust accordingly. Like I said, the office expense was a need before COVID, but now that we've had COVID and people have adjusted to working remotely, it's no longer a need. But then the cost of having a secure connection might be a necessary need because you want to make sure that your connection is encrypted, your data is encrypted, and everything. Now that is linked to your business or your goal, in terms of customer satisfaction or protecting client information. Then you would now look into incurring that expense. See, so you just need to monitor and adjust with every new period. So once the zero-based budget has been implemented, the organization should continuously monitor its progress and make adjustments as and when needed. This might involve reevaluating the allocation of resources or identifying new ways to achieve its goals more efficiently. Yeah, yeah. So that's basically the 5 steps that you need. It's not a lot of steps. First things first, you identify your need. Secondly, you identify your resources. Thirdly, you allocate based on those resources. Fourthly, you eliminate unnecessary expenses that are not linked to your goal. And then lastly, you monitor and adjust where you need to adjust. Might need to add, you might need to reduce. It's all up to you. It's simply all about putting together a plan and sticking to it. What are the benefits? One of the key benefits of zero-based budget is that it forces organizations to continuously evaluate and reevaluate their spending, ensuring that they are using their resources efficiently and effectively. It also encourages organizations to be more innovative in finding ways to achieve their goals with limited resources. Remember, resources, goals, they go hand in hand. Drawbacks. It can't all be rosy, so there's always going to be some drawbacks with anything, with any plan. So zero-based budgeting is no different. It's not an exception. Implementing a zero-based budget can be time consuming and may require significant changes to an organization's budgeting and decision making process. It may also require significant upfront investment in order for you to gather the necessary data and determine the most effective allocation of resources. Like I said, time consuming, and sometimes you might need to hire a consultant that's able to sit down and draw a plan for you. So it's one of those things that can cost you money can cost you money as well as time. So you need to be sure about it and make sure that when you're done with it, you literally implement this thing. You can't spend so much time and money only for it to be a living document that does nothing. And let's obviously bring it all together. Overall, a zero-based budget can be a useful tool for organizations looking to optimize their spending and achieve goals in a more effective and efficient manner. It's important to note that implementing a zero-based budget may require significant changes to an organization's budgeting and decision-making processes, as well as an upfront investment in order to gather the necessary data and determine the most effective allocation of resources. Like I said, you might hire an expert. However, the long-term benefit is to approach of this approach is can be quite significant in helping the organization to optimize their spending and achieve their goals in a more effective and efficient manner. So the benefits honestly outweigh the drawbacks or the disadvantages. So yeah, just look into it, man. You can email us at connect@mcponline.co.za, subscribe or follow us on Instagram, like our posts at the Compliance Clinic, on Twitter, the Com Clinic ZA, and our website as usual, mcponline.co.za, where you'll find the PDF version of this, as well as any other resources that you might need. Oh, on that note, if you want me to actually give you like an Excel spreadsheet that you can use as a working document, then yeah, email us, connect at MCP Online with requesting that, or you can comment in this section wherever it is, wherever you're checking this out on, you can comment, and then I'll reach out. But the best place is just to email me so that I can at least just respond to you. But yeah, thanks for watching, listening, and reading this. Love, peace, and prosperity from your favorite practitioner.